Welcome to Wrestling Over Everything, everybody. We are a very funny wrestling podcast out of Central Valley of California. I'm Andrew. That's Dusty.
Hey.
Follow us on the YouTube and then your favorite podcast app. Tell your friends. You got wrestling fan friends. You need to tell them about this podcast, okay? Period.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What are you going to do? Tell them about a different wrestling podcast?
Wait, there's another wrestling podcast?
Yeah. Follow us on all the stuff. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. And I'm going to be more active on those things going forward, but YouTube's where it's at. It's where we're putting most of our stuff. So this is another one of our non-deep dive episodes. We like to start off with a wrestling bio, Dusty.
That's correct, yeah.
Last time you nailed it, Gorgeous George. Brought the house down.
I mean, yeah, one of the I'm still thinking about the fact that he would have his assistant spray the ring with perfume. Like, there's a guy that should be doing that now. That would get over now, just as good as it did in the 50s.
Yeah, and it's just he does everything that he does. Somebody's doing nowadays, except for the perfume thing. Maybe people started getting angry because people are getting headaches or something. But
yeah, well, back then I think there was asbestos in the.
Well, back then they were probably glad that somebody was making something smell good because the world
right.
stunk back in the day.
Oh man, an old school no air conditioned wrestling event.
Imagine what the sportatorium smelled like.
You know that's a musk.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't wash off easy.
By the way, no, I'll ask you because it relates to the last thing we're going to talk about today. So remind me to ask you about the Freebirds, if you remember.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So my bio today is a little bit different. It is a wrestler. You can call this a wrestler. My wrestler's Canadian. Okay. They're not sure when he started wrestling. We'll get to it. They say he had 3 matches early on before he took a long hiatus, but those might have been a similarly sized specimen. This is Terrible Ted, the wrestling bear, Dusty.
I was like, there's a couple of ways that it can go.
Yeah.
It's either a little person wrestler or it's a bear.
Yeah.
Is really where I thought, what an odd thing to narrow down when you're talking about wrestling and you're being non-specific in the language.
Either like a little person or a bear.
Yeah, those are your options.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of what I talk about could either be a little person or a bear. That's Terrible Ted right there.
Hell yeah, dude. He doesn't look terrible there.
He's got a big old chain around his neck. Well, he's not as dangerous as normal bear because they took all of his teeth and his claws out.
God damn it. The past is horrific. Dude.
Yeah.
Poor Ted.
The past is really rough. A lot of people and some things are justified to complain about nowadays, but
yeah,
back in the day, they had just gummy, clawless bears getting beat to death while wrestling people. Mm-hmm. Terrible Ted ended up in jail at one point. This is a story right here. So Terrible Ted was born in 1949 or 1950 in Quebec, Canada. They don't have great records for when bears are born. Okay. Yeah. Apparently he was billed at 7 feet, 600 pounds. And to be honest, I don't know how much they exaggerated that. Terrible Ted was a certified, what we would call a big fucker. Okay. He was a big boy.
Is he, I don't know that you did this amount of research. Is he big? Is he a certified big fucker in the bear world? Or is he like a regular sized bear?
I don't know. Like in turn, like comparisons to other bears, but let me see if I can get like.
What kind of was he a black bear?
He was a black bear. Yeah, he was a black bear. So he, this is him for reference. This is him, and I believe his owner, who ended up wrestling for Stampede Wrestling. By the way, you might know his owner. I don't know how famous his owner was. So that's a big guy.
Yeah, according to this quick cursory research I did, black bears vary in size, but adult males typically weigh between 130 and 660 pounds and are 4 to 6 feet tall. So it seems like this guy's a unit.
This guy might have been a unit, which is crazy because he didn't have any teeth. He didn't have no teeth. But he would wrestle with a muzzle on. They didn't want him gumming somebody to death. You know what I mean? By the way, I was gonna do Big Daddy from England, and he didn't have that like interesting of a story until I found Terrible Ted. But he did kill a man by splashing him.
That's yeah. I had also looked up Big Daddy, and it was just kind of like what you expect. He was like
just a wrestler.
Big fat guy.
Changed his gimmick a few times. He started off as an Adonis, big old muscly guy, and then he ended up being Big Daddy. And he had feuds with what was that guy's name? The bearded guy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, Haystack Calhoun.
Haystacks Calhoun, and then yeah, he splashed a guy and killed him. And the guy turned purple and died. You don't want to get splashed by old Big Daddy.
Just as the gypsy foretold.
So Ted apparently debuted on April 1st, 1950, which he was very young at the time. I said he was born in 1949 or 1950.
Yeah.
He defeated Tony Galento in Asbury Park, New Jersey, as Ted the Wrestling Bear. And then Tony wanted a rematch, and
I got to get that bear back.
I got to get that fucking bear back for Clarence Latrell's Florida territory, which later became Championship Wrestling from Florida in Coral Gables. That one went to a draw. And then his third and final preliminary, like early in his career match, was in Marion, Ohio. The result is unknown, and they're not even sure it was Ted.
Can you imagine you're Tony Galento, you're being pitched your feud with the bear. Yeah. It's like, no, you got to lose to the bear to get some heat.
Get some heat on this bear.
Get heat on Ted. And then the second one, we'll go to a draw because you can't just beat the bear. And then no one knows the result of the third match. The blow-off match that they probably promised Tony Galento he was going to win. They switched it for a different bear because they got to keep Ted strong.
Yeah, it's just good luck. Like, and then he gets the rubber match in the bear. What if he beat the bear that time and that's the one that's lost the history?
Yeah,
so apparently Ted then took a long hiatus from wrestling. He went to college or something.
Yeah.
Dave McKigney is the guy who took over, which I believe is the guy who took that picture that I showed you. Later went to oh god damn it, I had his picture up. He later went to I think he ended up, what organization did he wrestle for? He wrestled for of course he was the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the WWF. He also, I believe, he went to Stampede Wrestling. He wrestled under the name The Bear Man.
There's a little known funk song, The Bear Man.
Yeah.
He's a bear man.
Eat your heart out, Weird Al.
Yeah, you want to talk about parody songs. Where's the Bear Man?
This is the Bear Man. I'll show you a picture of the Bear Man. So he did the crazy guy thing once he had a bear. Earlier in his career, he was Jean Dubois and Jean Dubois and Pierre Dubois and Dave Dubois. He wanted to be a Dubois. The Dubois thing must not have stuck.
Yeah, he really liked Dubois. He's got the medium-sized Andre the Giant singlet on.
That is true.
Like, he's still, and he kind of looks like Captain Lou Albano.
He kind of does look like Captain Lou Albano. And he's also got the, early era wrestling. I'm trying to look like a crazy guy, but I show no teeth, so it just looks like I'm going, look on his face. So that's Dave McKigney. So Dave McKigney trained Terrible Ted to wrestle. Like he did his best to train this fucking bear how to wrestle. So on Boxing Day in 1958, before 8,250 fans, Terrible Ted defeated McKigney. And then he wrestled 3 more matches for Maple Leaf Wrestling and then appeared for Stampede Wrestling across Alberta and Saskatchewan. I didn't realize that Stampede, and it makes sense that Stampede Wrestling was around that early. But I always associate Stampede with just like Brett. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But this was when Stu was running it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brett never ran it, but you know what I mean. So he had a couple matches for Tri-State Sports in Idaho. Overall, they say he won over over 500 matches in his 5-year career in 1959. So there's like a bunch of matches. I'm not going to go through everything. He teamed with Rocky Johnson at one point to defeat Luke Graham and Fritz von Goring. In December, he defeated Bobby Heenan and Baron von Raschke in a handicap match for WWA.
I bet that's a hilarious match.
So
Bobby Heenan selling for a bear. I'll put my money on the line now. Yeah.
We need to look to see if any footage of that match exists. It probably doesn't, but I would love to see if some. It was in 1972. So basically, he wrestled a woman at one point. And he defeated her by count out, of course. Fuck that! She did the Ryan Dunn fucking Christ.
Yeah, I must have misheard you on the phone. I'm booked against a bear.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I thought it was the Bear Man, not the Bear Man.
Commas are important. Wrestling the Bear Man or the Bear Man.
So that's his career. I mean, his career isn't like the story here. You know what I mean? It's like he wrestled a bunch, and he almost never, at least in like pro wrestling, he never really lost. You don't beat a bear, you know?
No, the bear stays over strong.
Yeah. So he's declawed and detoothed, which is awful. That really sucks. He traveled with a carnival in his early years, and then when the carnival went bankrupt, that's when he was adopted by Dave McKigney, and Dave adopted him and another bear named Smokey. Not that one. Okay.
That must be tough for bears. Like if your name was Michael Jordan.
Is Smokey, yeah, that's tough. No, I don't give a fuck about forest fires. I just want to kill Dave McKigney so I can be free.
Yeah, he detoothed and declawed my friend.
Yeah,
I don't care. I hope the whole forest burns down.
Well, spoiler alert, should have declawed and detoothed Smokey. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
On July 13th, 1966, McKigney offered $3,000 to anyone who could pin Terrible Ted. My big fucking bear friend.
Yeah.
Right? And so the challenge was accepted by a 36-year-old welder who wanted the money for truck repairs. His name was John Sigeti, right?
We used to be a messed up country, man.
I know.
Well, I guess things haven't really changed. I could see somebody having to wrestle a bear to get the money to repair their truck now.
Listen,
the more things change, yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
John beat Ted, man. John pinned that fucking bear and held him down for 15 seconds before McKigney ran in and pried him off the bear. This guy really needed to fix his truck.
Yeah, not my money-making bear.
Yeah.
That really, like, one loss for a bear is like 100 losses for a person. You know, it really... You're a loser bear once that happens.
That really fucked Ted up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like you don't want a more terrible Ted. I mean, he's got no teeth, no claws. All he's got is that O on his record, you know?
Yeah.
And now he doesn't even have that. Do you want to guess whether McKigney paid the guy the $3,000?
No, he absconded in the night, certainly.
He was sued because he did not pay the guy.
That dude, I bet Dave McKigney never had $3,000 saved in his entire life.
Who's gonna beat him? He's a fucking 600-pound bear.
Yeah, but he started to believe the gimmick is the problem.
Yeah,
he's like, Ted's undefeated.
Yeah. He's marking out for his own bear.
Yeah, he forgot that a welder who needs money is an unstoppable machine.
Here's them, by the way, and like all that trouble might just be worth this picture.
I'm sure Ted would like his teeth, but I guess
See, that might be Smokey because that I might see teeth in that picture. Maybe that's Smokey.
Oh,
I don't know. I can't tell. It's a very old picture. In October 1970, Ted spent several days in a Lowndes County jail. DUI. No, I'm just kidding. McKigney offered a $1,500 price for anyone who could wrestle Ted, which was accepted by a 350-pound construction worker named Ed Williams. Ed versus Ted, the battle of the century. Before the match, McKigney informed Williams that Ted had recently developed a poor disposition and could be dangerous, so he canceled the match. because he was like, oh, fuck, this guy's huge, and he's also down to wrestle my bear. And then he's probably not as big. I mean, he's probably bigger than John Seghetti, who just completely manhandled that bear.
Well, Seghetti had been distributing propaganda explaining exactly how to beat Ted to try to get his money back. Surprisingly, you tickle him.
Yeah.
He can't handle it.
You just scratch him right behind the ear.
Yeah.
The bear man, McKigney, doesn't give him enough affection. That bear will just lay right down for you.
You just open up to Terrible Ted about some sort of traumatic incident you've had.
Yeah.
And he just lets you win. Because you need it more than Ted does.
You tell him you love him, that bear will lay any way you want to. Okay. Williams accused him of skipping out of the deal and signed a writ of attachment. And Ted was held as security in the jail. And
that's fucked up. You put Ted the bear in jail instead of Dave the man.
Ted's just kicking it in the jail cell. Like, I fucking hate that McKigney.
It probably doesn't. It doesn't have the same psychological effect on Ted the bear. He's been locked up his whole life.
It might be a bigger cell. This might be the 4 seasons.
Yeah, like he's Ted has been institutionalized by the system. He wants to be in there.
Imagine getting thrown in the drunk tank, and they're walking you, and there's just a bear in the jail.
You think whatever weed you got is very strong.
Do you guys also see the bear in here?
I don't want to be crazy. You guys see that bear too, right?
That's a goddamn bear, isn't it? I've made this mistake before.
That's how I ended up the first time.
Ted briefly lived at the dungeon at Stu Hart's home in Calgary while working for Stampede, where a young Bret Hart would let him lick ice cream off his feet. See, Ted seems like a delightful bear, man. I don't think he wanted to fight these guys.
I think that's a fucked up thing to do to the bear. Because the bear doesn't
to let him lick ice cream off your feet?
Yeah. He doesn't want to do that. Just give him the ice cream.
Dude, he's just chilling. Your dog wants to lick your feet. What do you think of bear? Like, I think you're humanizing this bear. He was hanging out. We're not mad at Bret Hart in this story, Dustin.
No, I suppose on the list of indignities suffered by Terrible Ted.
He was having fun with Ted, giving him ice cream. On July 2nd, 1978, in Aurora, Ontario, McKigney left Smokey's cage door open while he was gardening.
I bet that's the beginning sentence of something bad.
Yeah, it's like when somebody's telling you a story, they're like, "I just bought this car," and you're like, "Oh fuck, something's about to happen to that car."
Yeah.
Smokey entered McKigney's house and mauled his girlfriend, 30-year-old Lynn Orser, to death.
Oh fuck, man.
Fuck, dude. As a result, both bears were taken away by the Ontario Humane Society.
Again, look, it's terrible that this woman was killed.
Sucks ass, yeah.
She
probably didn't want to hang out with those bears either.
No, the bear is just being a bear.
It's bearing, dude.
They're again punishing the bear for, like, they're not punishing Dave for what he's doing. That's causing the bear to do what it's doing. Like,
yeah. And the thing that sucks about this is, like, this completely leaves... We don't know what happened to Ted and Smokey because they took the bears away. McKigney was like, well, sometimes bears act unpredictably during mating season. But nobody knows what happened to the bears. I don't think they at least didn't kill Smokey. I mean, didn't kill Ted. There's no way I mean, it was 1978. They might have killed Ted, but
I mean, I think Smokey. I don't think they were because now he's got the lust. You know, he's got the bloodlust. So I don't think that they released him back into the wild. And
Oh, they can't release
unfortunately,
either of these bears back into the
yeah, I was
wild.
going to say, unfortunately for Ted, he can't live in the wild. He has to be cared for.
He's got no teeth or claws, and he's a sensitive little boy. He just likes
Yeah.
licking
Yeah,
ice cream off of people's feet.
And he's been working. He's been a gimmick bear
He's
his
a
whole
gimmick
life.
bear.
He doesn't know what real bears do. It's like if you put Hulk Hogan in a shoot wrestling match. He doesn't know what to do because he's not an actual wrestler. You know, Ted is a bear, but only in the strictest sense of the word. You know,
Look at this fucking.
he's soft
This,
to the harsh realities of wildlife.
This picture. Look at this picture. Okay, that's McKigney getting like messed around with by a bear, right?
Yeah.
The caption. By the way, it is $375 to use this picture in anything.
Jesus.
As a medium size, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But owner Dave McKigney and Gentle Ben clowning around at McKigney's home near Aurora. Is that the Gentle Ben?
I believe that is the Gentle Ben.
The caption says, owner Dave McKigney and Gentle Ben clowning around at McKigney's home near Aurora. The bear bit the fingertips off of 2 men in Prince Edward Island last month.
The not
2
so
men.
gentle Ben. Yeah, not so
1
gentle
man.
Ben. One man, you understand. A second guy put his hands too close to Ben. That's on that guy.
Fool us twice. You know what I
mean?
Yeah.
So I'm skipping ahead. Dave McKigney gets another bear.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the fuck's going on with this Gentle Ben thing. It's not in his Wikipedia. He died 10 years after the Smokey incident in a car accident on the way to a wrestling show. A moose got in the way.
They hired that moose.
That's what I was gonna say. No, this is there's a little bit of inside stuff going on here. That moose heard something.
Yeah. The animal kingdom banded together.
Yeah.
On behalf of Smokey and Ted. Can you imagine a new promotion, or even one of the current ones? AEW next week announces MJF versus a live bear on TNT. The amount of people that would tune into that, because it still works. Like the intrigue of seeing a bear versus a man still fulfills something in the lizard brain that we want, you know?
Yeah, it's well, people would lose their mind. And so, McKigney did. All right, I think I've got that was Smokey. That one picture that I showed you.
Okay.
That was Smokey. But he also eventually got a bear named Gentle Ben. This guy fucking just loved bears. But if they did the
only one man can train him.
Yeah,
it's Ted McKigney.
If they did the MJF thing, there would be backlash from so many different angles. There'd be animal rights people. There'd be people being like, "Why are you making the Jew wrestle a bear?" There would be just so much, and it would be like, do you remember when they were like, "Oh, Michael Phelps is gonna swim against a great white shark"?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up, but yeah, I remember that.
And everybody was stoked about it because they thought that the shark and Phelps were going to be in the pool at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they were selling it to people.
And then when they showed it, it is just Phelps wrestling against like a holographic shark in the pool with him. Yeah. That's what it would have been.
Yeah, or like whenever what was it? I think it was Chad Ochocinco versus a horse in a race. You know, like people still, we have dominion over the animals, and people still want to be like, but who would win in a foot race?
Yeah.
I'm fucking taking the horse doesn't even know it's in a competition. It's just doing the shit a horse will do.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's that's really funny, and of course, you know, the Gentle Ben talk show from The Simpsons.
Oh my god, it's one of the best things in the world. One of the best things of all time.
It amazes me every week whenever we dive in to just what a weird business wrestling was allowed to be for so many years, because that's not that far removed from Hulkamania, a guy wrestling a bear.
Yeah, I mean, Gentle Ben had matches like less than 10 years before Hulkamania. He wrestled Bobby Heenan.
Right. Yeah, like the match we're covering today is less than 20 years after a guy wrestled a bear, like not in a back alley or in a carnival somewhere, like in a legitimate promotion
Yeah.
in front of people. It's wild.
It's unbelievable, and I'm glad we're not declawing and detoothing bears in America, at least anymore. I bet it's happening somewhere else. You know,
Yeah.
in one of those places they say they want to move to.
Right.
I bet they're declawing and detoothing bears.
They're I mean, even to get into MMA for a second, Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the big things in his allure and in his mystique was like, when he was a kid, he wrestled bears, right?
Yeah.
Like I had a buddy who every time there was a Khabib fight, I was like, do you think Khabib's going to lose? And he's like, has the other guy wrestled a bear before? Then no.
Yeah.
Probably Khabib's going to take it.
There's video of it. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's him versus I mean, it's a little bear, but it's still a bear.
It's a bear nonetheless. He double-legged that son of a bitch. Look at him. Going after it. He lets the bear up. Stand up, you bitch.
Oh, the bear got a takedown. Yeah.
You bullshit bear.
You send me location, bear. Oh, the woods again? That's where you want to fight again?
I thought that's where you. Never mind.
It's always the woods. That's awesome.
That's Terrible Ted the bear, and
Terrible Ted the wrestling bear.
I wager to guess Gentle Ted. I'm thinking Ted was a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he had a pretty decent disposition. Yeah, he's probably been Stockholm syndromed, like to trust Ted McGee,
Dave McKing
or Dave, yeah,
McKigney,
to trust Dave McKigney because that's where he gets all his food and shit from. But I bet on a long enough timeline, that dude's getting mauled by one of those bears for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're bears.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They get one good meal. That he was at least good for a year if they wouldn't have taken Smokey away.
That's well, it didn't say that he ate her, just that he mauled her to death,
to a permanent end.
Yeah,
like
to
fucking
John
death. Cena does.
Yeah.
What did he say? Compromise to a permanent end.
Yeah. The Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
We got him. So I love that. That's a great one. I'm gonna work on. Topping the wrestling bear is gonna be tough. I'll have to work on mine for next time.
I was excited about the wrestling bear. I was stoked about that one.
I think I want to end with news this week because there's an event this weekend. Do you want to go through our match of the week?
Yeah. You want to intro it?
Yeah. So this week we are covering. I have a list of matches that I've cultivated for Andrew to see. We call it the 101 matches to see before you die.
Yeah.
Kind of a takeoff of the movie books and things like that have that kind of name to them. So this week we're working on another one, which is the Midnight Express versus the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys from the Great American Bash 1990.
The crazy thing about this is it could have been called the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys versus the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys. If we're just going on descriptions of these guys,
That's true, yes. Florida is technically in the South, and that's where Stan Lane is from. So,
where's Bobby Eaton from?
He's from Huntsville, Alabama, baby.
Well, there we go. God damn it, straight he is. That's what. And that hair is still in Huntsville, no matter where he is.
It's still in Huntsville. So a little bit of a precursor. The Midnight Express, obviously one of the best tag teams of the 80s in either incarnation. The most famous ones are Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton. And then the iteration that we have today is Stan Lane and Bobby Eaton, managed by Jim Cornette. They in the end of 1987 turned babyface and were the first team in NWA history to hold the U.S. tag titles and the world tag titles at the same time. They beat Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard for those belts. And then in 1988, ended up losing them not long after to the Road Warriors, who had just turned heel. But through all of 1988 and into the fall of 1989, they're baby faces. And pretty popular baby faces. In the fall of 1989, they turned heel while working a program with a tag team called the Dynamic Dudes, who were Shane Douglas and Johnny Ace as skateboarding youths.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it stinks.
Yeah.
But also during that time, Jim Herd has taken over as the president of WCW, and for some reason hates the Midnight Express. Jim Cornette has talked about this at length in various interviews and commentary tracks and things. He just hated the Midnight Express.
He probably just hated Jim Cornette.
Well, he wanted to keep Cornette, but have him not manage the Midnight Express and just be a heel color commentator, not do any management and just do heel TV segments.
He would have been great at that, but he's a manager. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, and he did both. He had an interview segment, but he was also like an integral part of the Midnight Express. Jim Herd just didn't want the Midnight Express around for some reason. He was going to split them up. And they were like, we don't want to be split up. Also, you need us. We're one of the best tag teams in the world. So you should probably, do something with us. But
where was Condrey at this point?
Dennis Condrey had quit in 1987 for unknown reasons. And that's when they got Stan Lane. And then actually in 1988, what the big feud for the Midnight Express was against the quote unquote original Midnight Express of Dennis Condrey and a guy named Randy Rose. Not Randy Rhodes.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
with Paul Heyman as their manager. Paulie Dangerously managed the original Midnight versus the new Midnight Express of Lane and Bobby Eaton. So,
but were those guys the original Midnight Express, the other guys, or did they just call themselves that?
They called themselves that. There had been a couple of other iterations of the Midnight Express, but Condrey was like, he was in one of the other versions as well, and so was Randy Rose. But the most popular, famous version was whenever it got to Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey.
Okay.
With Cornette. So for the purposes of that feud, nobody had tape to go back and be like, well, actually, this other Midnight Express existed. It was just you believed that these guys were the original because that's what they were telling you.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I finally found a video of this match because I just really wanted to show this is peak Bobby Eaton mullet.
Yeah.
I can't find a picture of Bobby Eaton having a better mullet than he had in this match.
I mean, Stan Lane, do we consider what Stan Lane has to be a mullet as well?
Yeah, it's a mullet. It's not the Bobby Eaton, Alabama mullet. It's a Florida mullet. It's not an Alabama mullet.
Yeah, it's not as beautiful Bobby Eaton's mullet.
Man, I wish this was a little clearer. Freaking Daily Motion has this at 360p. There's the Stan Lane.
Yeah, that's mullet. A little more feathered kind of.
It's just not it doesn't have as much body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Bobby Eaton's mullet is a work of art in this match.
His Stan Lane's kind of looks like young James Hetfield mullet. So
yeah, I'll do that. I'll give you that. It's still. I mean, Stan Lane is just like he looks like Timu Lex Luger.
Yeah, he's. So the Midnight as they turn heel and then they win the United States Tag Team titles from Brian Pillman and the Z-Man at Capital Combat 1990.
Hell yeah, Z-Man, dude.
Yeah, which leads them into this match. And then the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys are Steve Armstrong and Tracy Smothers, and they had started teaming in 1987 for Championship Wrestling out of Florida, who had also booked Terrible Ted, of course.
Hell yeah.
And then they team in a few different promotions, Continental Wrestling, New Japan, United States Wrestling Association, and then in April of 1990 they make their WCW debut in a dark match, and they have some matches with Doom, and then they lose, and then they got a big win against the Fabulous Freebirds at Clash of Champions 11, which is leading into Great American Bash. So this is kind of, they didn't win like a number one contenders match, but they essentially were booked on this card. Jim Cornette is like, we knew we weren't going to lose the belts, but we didn't know if we were going to win. And essentially, our goal every night was to have the best goddamn match we could have, to stick it in their face that we were the best tag team in the world. So, Great American Bash 1990 takes place July 7th, 1990, from Baltimore, Maryland. 14,000 people in attendance. The tagline was "The New Revolution." And at the beginning,
because it's all like around like the Revolutionary War type stuff.
Yeah, at the beginning they cut in like in the Declaration of Independence, like Ric Flair dressed as a colonial soldier and shit, which is very funny.
Yep.
I know that it's a Southern promotion, so it probably flies a little bit better, but the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys are from the heartland of the South and have full-on Confederate flags on their jackets, run into the ring, and they're the baby faces.
Yeah.
Like pretty astoundingly, or pretty resoundingly, the
heartland of the South isn't bad. I understand the Confederate. That's before society rethought that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying. In 2025, it's weird to see dudes running to the ring with the Confederate flag on their jacket, and they're getting the cheers.
Yeah. Well, and the Midnight Express got a pretty good pop when they walked out. Eventually, Cornette gets the whole crowd to turn on him.
Well, it's partially because of the Midnight Express's song, which is not up in the mix here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think I noticed it.
It fucking rules. It's a really good song. And let's see if you'll remember from before. Do you remember where the Midnight Express are billed from?
No.
The Dark Side.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
I'll
cheer for that shit every day.
Yeah. Before the match starts, somebody says something to Jim Cornette, and he turns around and he goes, "Why don't you sit down and shut up, stinking pig-faced moron?"
He said, "Why don't you sit down and wipe that ugly off your face, you stinking pig-faced moron?"
It's like 25% meaner than it needs to be.
But that's where you got to go. That's the secret sauce. By the way, Tracy Smothers wrestled in ECW at one point, and he was billed from Nashville, Italy.
Because he was a part of a group called the FBI, the Full-Blooded Italians.
So he's Nashville, Italy.
Yeah, and the gimmick was, none of the guys in the group except for the main guy are actually Italian. So
they just said their hometown and added said it was in it. That's great.
Hilarious.
That's great. He wrestled I made a note for so many organizations.
Yeah, him and Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong have been around the block. Steve Armstrong, brothers of Brian Armstrong, one of your favorites, the old Road Dogg.
The Road Dogg?
The Road Dogg. This is the Road Dogg's brother.
Shit! Aren't they? I knew they were a wrestling family.
Yeah. Do you want to wager a guess how old Bobby Eaton is in this match?
Is 1990.
Yep.
He's already lost Condry. 36.
Bobby Eaton is 31 years old.
Oh, God
in this
damn it.
match.
Oh, by the way, I was going to say, listen, he's 31 in old Southern. He's an Alabama boy, professional wrestler with the greatest goddamn mullet you ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
That adds 11 years.
Yeah, well, and he's been wrestling since he was like 15. So
I don't know how you would write this movie, if you would make it a comedy or if you would, what they need to do is they need to make a Eastbound and Down style wrestling television show with Shane Gillis playing Bobby Heaton. Bobby Eaton. Bobby Heaton.
Yeah, I can see it 100%.
Put that mullet on Shane Gillis and just let him do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, that's
Let me see if ChatGPT will make
Shane
Shane
Gillis,
Gillis as
beautiful Bobby Eaton. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to guess how old Stan Lane is?
Oh fuck. 36.
Stan Lane, you nailed it right on the button.
Hell yeah, dude.
I was surprised. Eaton, look, I love Bobby Eaton. He does not look like the junior member of this team. Like,
who does? Well, kind of, because Stan Lane. The one thing that Stan Lane has against him is his leather skin. Like his skin looks a little older. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all that cocoa butter that he's been putting on it for years. Steve Armstrong is 25, and Tracy Smothers is 28. So they've been around for a while, but this is like their first big shot.
How long is Armstrong?
Armstrong is 25.
Okay, yeah, he's a fucking specimen too.
Yeah, now both of those dudes are in really good shape, like, and are athletic guys. This, I think this is a great match. I remember even as a kid watching this match and realizing, like, oh, this is a step ahead or like a step above what most other people are doing as far as like the movement in the match and the spots and the like tag team wrestling when it's really, really good is one of my favorite things. So were you able to pull it off?
Dude, AI's so fucking stupid. Look at this. Dude, I really think that, like, I think that's a hit television show.
That one on the right, dude, that's where the money's at. And you could tell all the old Southern wrestling, like he just wrestles in the territories. You know, it doesn't have to be Bobby Eaton necessarily. No. He's just an old Southern wrestler.
He's just an old Southern wrestler, and then you mix in like a bunch of old, like Harley Race brings a gun type like stories, and they're ribbing each other, and like he's getting all the girls, but there's like he gets a terrible coke problem, and he's addicted to steroids, and like, oh man.
That's I think you just wrote a hit show for HBO.
I'm serious. This would be such a good show. And he would kill it. He would be really good at it.
There's a part in this match where I think it's Tracy Smothers is doing to what I'll say is generous some karate. And he keeps kicking Bobby Eaton in the face.
Yeah.
And Bobby keeps getting more and more angry each time he gets kicked in the face, which is really funny. But Jim Ross on commentary has to point out that karate is in fact a legal discipline that you can use in pro wrestling. You can karate kick someone.
No, this is serious right here. Somebody could really die.
Yeah, it's a savant kick. I don't know if you've heard, but if you push his nose bone into his brain, I've seen it in.
I thought he kept saying a savant kick. I'm like, this guy is Smothers autistic?
Yeah, he can play the piano if you just you hum a song to him and he can play it on piano.
Yeah, if you hit one key with his back turned, he'll turn around and nail that key every time.
Yeah. And then of course Stan Lane comes in.
And by the way, real quick.
Yeah.
Credit to Eaton. He's bumping his ass off on those kicks. Like he's doing great, like he always did. But
Stan Lane gets tagged in, and he is canonically in the Midnight Express a karate expert. Like that's long been part of his gimmick is his deadly kicks.
Yeah,
and they're like he's a black belt in karate, and he used to actually teach karate. Which really made me think like that could be the TV show. Sensei Stan Lane in a Florida strip mall teaching karate to exclusively single moms in yoga pants.
Is that a real thing or is he faking it?
I've never seen anything where he actually knows.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything either.
Martial arts or is a black belt in something. But as you like to often point out, we were karate crazy. At this point in time in the world at large.
Yeah. Well, and it's but that's my thing about like wrestlers don't like, unless you like train, don't try to be, especially nowadays. Back in the day, you can get away with it. people thought karate chops were like a thing back then.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
Stan Lane does some straight up karate chops in this match, like the hayas, like where he pulls back after it makes contact with the flat hand. But like with it goes back to the thing that we always talk about with the what's his name?
Spinning back
The spinning
fist.
back fist. What's the phenomenal one?
AJ
Styles. There it is.
Yeah.
It goes back to that, and even Punk, who has trained,
Yeah.
like even a lot of his stuff looks like shit too. But like, and Undertaker, his punches got better as the years went by. I think he actually did more real training as the years went by. You know,
Yeah.
it's like don't. Steve Blackman was a real bad son of a bitch, and he's allowed
Right.
to do that stuff. But like,
Yeah.
when because that's why I looked up the Stan Lane thing, because when I saw him start doing the karate stance, it was like, you know how OJ said that when he killed Ron Goldman, he got into a stupid karate stance first.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
That's what I was looking. That's what I was thinking about.
He's doing the thing where he puts his arm out and then he beckons him to come at him. You know,
gestures.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's really funny. It's all Power Ranger karate.
Yeah.
Like a lot of hayas and side kicks and like
you move swiftly, but nothing that you do particularly looks like it hurts that bad.
Yeah. I also love this match because like the way they get the crowd into it is the Midnight Express are constantly getting their face in the doo-doo.
Yeah.
We say that all the time, but it is like they just keep getting outsmarted by the Wild-Eyed Southern boys and more and more frustrated. And then there's a spot where the referee gets distracted by Cornette and Stan Lane hits, I believe it's Steve Armstrong from behind. And then they take him outside and they throw him into the guardrail. And that's how the Midnight Express take over. And it's like a perfect cutoff spot to explain why the Midnight get to do all their stuff to him now. Like they cheated perfectly.
Yeah. And then a lot of this stuff was a lot of their stuff was done. You can tell these guys, like, and even though, like, how long had Stan Lane been in the Midnight Express by this 3 years?
Yeah.
You can tell they've wrestled 1,000 matches together because like everything is, you even saw like a couple times where Eaton would tell Stan, like, stand on that side of the rope, like move real quick, or like they were just in sync in everything that they did. And props to the Southern Boys. The Southern Boys wrestled a hell of a match here. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with Steve Armstrong, but the Smothers guy stayed in like 98% of this match.
Yeah. I think maybe Steve Armstrong was the more dynamic
Yeah, he's good
guy.
for the hot tag.
Yeah, so you want to give him the hot tag. And Stan Lane had been a very popular tag team wrestler in a tag team called the Fabulous Ones that were around in like the territories before he got drafted to be in the Midnight Express. So he's got years of experience being a tag team wrestler also. And then he teams up with Bobby Eaton, who might be the greatest tag team wrestler of all time, or one of them at least.
Genuinely, he might be my favorite tag team wrestler ever. I probably got to really think about that. We got to think about the Road Dogg, you know,
right?
But
that's it.
And Scotty Too Hottie,
and Scotty Too Hottie. What a rogues gallery! Scotty Too Hottie, the Road Dogg, and beautiful Bobby Eaton.
But no, you got to think about the Legion of Doom. Those guys, like, probably my favorite. I think I like Animal.
Yeah.
Animal, but Rick Steiner.
I was gonna say the Steiner brothers.
So I would say Bobby Eaton is on my Mount Rushmore of tag team wrestlers. I'd say that's fair for sure.
Bobby Eaton hits a beautiful leg drop off the top rope. Just
such a good leg drop.
Buries him with this leg drop, and then has to sell it. He like did it too good, and so he has to sell that he's injured himself so that he doesn't just pin this guy and beat him.
Yeah, and it doesn't bury his finisher.
I remember when Jim Cornette was running the training school OVW. He tells a story about Bobby Eaton coming in to do like some training sessions with people, and people were like, "How is your leg drop so good, and how did you not kill somebody hitting him with it?" And he's like, "I don't know, I just did it this way." And they're like, "But can you explain the mechanics of it?" And he's like, "I don't know how to explain it to you because I just do it, and it looks like that. And that's one of those things where it's like you can't teach somebody to wrestle like Bobby Eaton. Like somebody could do all the moves, but it doesn't look as good as he does it. Like it's really maybe the best spot of this whole match. I saw it and I was just like, God damn, that leg drop was awesome.
It truly is an elite leg drop. Like it's
Yeah.
as good as it gets. And I hope this doesn't get us fucking banned from YouTube, but I want to show what happens after that leg drop, because Stan Lane does something I don't understand why he did this. And maybe you can shed some light on it. It's this is like a second and a half.
Yeah.
Why, when Stan Lane gets this tag, does he come in and do a quick chicken dance?
He was feeling himself, dude. I believe that it was his sensei that taught him that.
Okay.
He was doing a kata and got rudely interrupted by one of the Southern boys.
It makes them it brings about a level of anger in them, which spikes their cortisol.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to show Dusty his chicken dance.
I think the end of this match is laid out fucking fabulously. So the Southern boys go to hit their finish, which is one of them picks up one of the Midnight Express, like they're going to do an inverted atomic drop. So they're looking one way, and then the Midnight Express guy's looking over his back, and then the other Southern boy comes off the top rope with a drop kick, which looks pretty sick. Yeah, I'll ask you in a second a question about it, but then that gets broken up by the other guy in the Midnight Express, by Stan Lane, I think, and then he sets up the rocket launcher, which is the Midnight's move, where he goes to the corner and Bobby's on top, and he launches him into a splash on one of the Southern boys, and then the ref's trying to get everybody out, so everybody gets to hit their finish. But then the ref's trying to get everybody out, and they kick out of the rocket launcher. So then, in all that confusion, one of the Southern boys.
That was a really believable finish too.
One of the Southern boys goes to hit the ropes, and Stan uses his karate prowess to jump up and kick him in the back of the head, and then Bobby Eaton rolls him into a small package, and the Midnight Express win. And I just thought, like, the timing on all of those things was crisp and perfect and looked awesome. And you got the crowd, like, exponentially hotter for each thing. Like, the Southern boys hit their finish, the crowd peaks. That gets broken up. The Midnight hit their finish, the crowd goes higher. And then that gets a kick out, so it goes even higher. And then the finish happens, and you have them, like, at the top that you could have them, and then you finish it.
Well, and they had that moment where I can't remember who was on the ground. It might have been, I think it was both Midnight Express guys were on the ground, and both Southern boys kept taking turns jumping on to get the pin. It was a weird spot because, like, who's the legal man in this?
At a certain point, every tag team match goes into like we don't care about the legal man anymore because we're getting to the finish.
Lost track.
The Southern boys finisher.
Yeah.
Do you think lifting the guy up makes it hurt more?
No.
Yeah.
The only way that, like, maybe that he falls further after
I was thinking
gets drop kicked.
He falls further. There is an argument for that.
Yeah. But you could do a thing where he holds him, the guy drop kicks him, and then you like slam him, so he like gets drop kicked in the face and then slammed onto the ground or something.
Yeah.
But no. But it's better than the rocket launcher.
I was going to then ask about the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Bobby Eaton's not getting any higher or going any further.
Bobby Eaton's going further if he jumps. Like, he's
right.
going you are limited by Stan Lane's ability to overhead press and throw probably 240-pound Bobby Eaton.
Yeah.
You know? Stan Lane's a strong guy. But Bobby Eaton's legs on those springy ropes probably goes a lot further than that, you know?
Yeah.
So
they do both look cool. That does help.
Yeah, I don't hate either of them.
Yeah.
I'm more offended by the rocket launcher, but it's not as bad as the spike pile driver. It's not, which also, and it's also not as bad as the Iron Sheik just putting his foot up and somebody throwing somebody's head into his foot.
Sure.
Like at least Stan Lane, when he kicked somebody, he kicked the guy. You know,
Right. It looks like a kick.
Yeah.
The other Midnight Express finisher, which is actually pretty dope, is called the Vegomatic, which is a great name.
Hell yeah, dude.
And it's Stan Lane grabs a dude in a bear hug, and then like kind of squats with the guy, so the guy's legs are around Stan's waist, and he has him in a squat, so the guy's kind of leaning back, and then Bobby Eaton comes off the top rope with a leg drop. And that looks pretty sick.
Oh shit! Like decapitates the guy.
Yeah, kind of. And it's
They
like
call him the Vegomatic because it turns them into vegetables.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. This match goes 18 minutes 14 seconds.
You better hope it never actually turns somebody.
Yeah. It's pretty safe. It just looks devastating.
Yeah.
I think. Like this match is 18 minutes 14 seconds. This gets 4.75 stars in by Dave Meltzer. This is the highest rated match of Great American Bash 1990, which is otherwise pretty stinky. Sting wins the world title at this event for the first time. He beats Ric Flair. This is Mean Mark Callis's last match in WCW before he becomes the Undertaker.
Yeah, he was getting interviewed right before this.
Yeah,
but with a really, really excited Paul Heyman.
Yeah, this is also Harley Race's last pay-per-view match ever, and it's really not a good match, unfortunately, for old Harley. But yeah, so the Midnight did their expressed mission statement here and stole the show, because I think this match is awesome. I don't know that I go full 5 stars, but there's not really anything that I could nitpick about it. It's really, really well done.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, the crowd was super into it. I was into it. I don't want to call the Southern Boys jobbers, but the guys who were probably going to lose this match, the underdogs, right?
Yeah.
Were awesome. Like
yeah.
when the Road Dogg's brother Steve Armstrong gets the tag, the hot tag, and he comes in like a bat out of hell and is just beating the fuck out of both of them.
Yeah.
And he clangs their heads together.
Yeah.
He was great. Terry Summers, is that his name?
Tracy Smothers.
Tracy Smothers, there it is. Tracy Smothers was awesome. He wrestled a lot of this match. This was almost in total a Tracy Smothers versus Bobby Eaton match, which is cool. We got some classic Jim Cornette riling up the crowd at perfect times. Like he's like, "Oh, I don't feel like they hate us enough," so he calls somebody fat in the front row, or like he turns around, he's like yelling at him, swinging his tennis racket at him. Why did they allow the heel manager to bring a weapon to the ring every match?
Yeah, I guess there is a flaw in the logic. I suppose that they believed, even though they'd been proven wrong several times, that maybe he was going to do the right thing this time.
Yeah, but then why does he I guess he could say it's for self-defense. That's probably how he did it, because Cornette likes to fill in holes. Like he likes to not,
well, it's just part of his
not the
gimmick.
Way that Vince liked to fill in holes, but
it's just part of his gimmick as like a rich mama's boy. Like
but he is the type of guy who would ask the question, "Why do they let you do that?" If it wasn't
right,
him?
why do I still? Yeah, after the first time that I hit somebody with it, why would they let me continue to use it?
Yeah,
yeah,
and I do it every time I hit somebody with this thing.
Quite a lot. I'm hitting somebody.
It is
with this
Chekhov's tennis racket.
Yeah, you might be right. Like whenever they wrestled in Mid-South and everybody, they were worried about riots all the time. Like that is nice to have that to defend yourself.
That's if I were him, that's how I would have framed it. Like this isn't here. This isn't so I can cheat in these massive matches. This is to protect me from you hillbillies. Like all you crazy marks. Like
so I can brain one of you guys if you try to come at me. Yeah, I think the only thing that stops it from being 5, and maybe this isn't a fair thing, is like
it wasn't in Japan.
It wasn't in Japan. That's very true. The stakes of the match are not very high. Like, it's not a main event. I don't know that the result was ever really in doubt. Like, I don't think the Southern Boys are going to win this match.
I
So
doubted it a couple times, but yeah, I know what you mean. And like, but like to like counterpoint to that is that almost says more about the job that these guys did, that the stakes weren't that high and it still got the crowd like freaking out, and it still
yeah,
like was a very competent, like the psychology was good, the fundamentals were good. Even this is 1990, there was still a really good two spots off the ropes. um Everybody looked good. Like there wasn't anybody who didn't look like they belonged in there. Everybody was a good athlete in there. Like Bobby Eaton is a star, man. Like
yeah,
these all four guys were good, obviously, but like Bobby Eaton, he's one of those guys that you're always like, I mean, I'm sure they wrestled like big guys where like he's wrestling other guys that have this attribute, but like most of the time when there's a Midnight Express match, I'm just watching Bobby Eaton the whole time.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and they're really great, like a really top tier tag team. So this match was really, really good. It's a hidden gem. The Pretty easy to find on Peacock. So for the Midnight Express after this, they hold on to the U.S. tag titles until August, when they lose it to the Steiner brothers. And then in October of 1990, they go to a television taping in Anderson, South Carolina, and and then they realize they haven't been booked for any of the shows that are being taped that day. Like, neither Midnight Express guy has a match, and so they're upset because they weren't told ahead of time, and Bobby Eaton could have stayed home with his family
Yeah.
instead of having to go to South Carolina. So they're pretty pissed about that. And then the next day they go to uh they go to the next set of tapings, and then they have four matches. They have a match on every one of these shows that they're taping, and they're losing all of these matches. And so uh
That fucking sucks.
so Cornette goes to Ole Anderson, who's the booker at that point, and Anderson is like, "Well, if you don't like it, you can just leave, go home." And Jim Cornette's like, "I'm fucking glad to do that." And so he grabs his bag and he tells the Midnight Express, like, "I'm leaving." And Stan Lane is like, "Well, fuck it, I'm coming with you." And Bobby, they have to have a meeting where they're like, "Bobby, we know you can't go because you have a family and you have to stay, but
Yeah.
we're going to leave if that's okay with you." And so they split amicably, but Cornette and Stan Lane leave and Eaton stays. And then later on in the taping, Ole Anderson goes to look for Cornette and Stan Lane, and Bobby Eaton has to go, "Well, they left. You told them to leave. They fucking left." And so that is the end of the Midnight Express. Like, they wrestle some independent shows later on. They get back together for fan fest and stuff, but like,
Yeah, people like
this
throw
is
some money at him every once in a while.
yeah, this is literally the end of them as like a national tag team. And they have, like, I mean, Bobby Eaton wrestles for 10 more years after this. Like, they have a lot left.
Oh,
But
I mean, you could tell in this they had so much left in the tank.
yeah,
There's a very few. I don't want to hyperbolate, but there's very few tag teams that are better than what we saw in this match from them. You know, like,
yeah,
and
the-
this wasn't This wasn't like the blow your ears back work. This was great, solid tag team work. Like, we're talking about close to a 5-star match. You know, if that happens
yeah.
at WrestleMania, it's a 5-star match probably, or close to it at least. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, that sucks. It's a sad way for it to end, but like, when you listen to Cornette talk about it, he's essentially like, I was I was at the end of my rope. There was really anything could have been the last straw, and it just so happened to be this.
Yeah.
You know, like, we deserved more respect than what they were giving us, so I told him to fuck off. And then he started Smoky Mountain Wrestling and ran that for a few years and ended up in the WWF.
Why did he not try to do the Midnight Express in Smoky Mountain?
Because Bobby Eaton was contracted to WCW.
Oh,
And so
okay.
he forms the Heavenly Bodies,
Yeah, I remember that.
which are Stan Lane and Tom Pritchard, and then Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey, who are supposed to essentially be the Midnight Express like an analog to
Yeah.
that.
Were they good?
Yeah, the Heavenly Bodies are great. There's a match on our list that has them on it where it's them and the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh shit! So they really were just the Midnight Express.
Yeah, but it's in 1993 and it's on this WWF Survivor Series pay-per-view, and they straight up blow the WWF matches out of the water. Like it's not even close.
Oh, is this when they brought Heenan and I mean when they brought Cornette and Heenan put him over?
Yeah, and it was to help. Run? Yeah, and they were like, "We'll put your tag title match." It was Smoky Mountain tag title match on the WWF pay-per-view as like a promotion for them.
Yeah,
and they just fucking work circles around the WWF guys. Like
what was
again,
it, like fucking Demolition and
this is the
natural
dark
disasters.
This is 1993. This is like the darkest timeline of WWF silliness. You know, it's like as a kid, I'm like watching this at like 9 years old, and I'm like, this might be the best wrestling match I've ever seen. Like these guys are so much better than Doink the Clown, etc. So for the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, they continued a losing streak throughout 1990. They lose to the Freebirds and the Nasty Boys and a team called the Master Blasters, who are Al Green, not that Al Green. And young Kevin Nash, like a young ass Kevin Nash,
the Master Blasters.
Or the Master Blasters.
That sounds like a Kevin Nash ass name to come up with.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And then at Wrestle War in 1991, they win a match against a team called the Royal Families and the Royal Family, and then they changed their name to the Young Pistols. I assume somebody was like, Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, even in 1991, might have some connotation.
Are these the Master Blasters?
That's the Master Blasters.
Why are they covered in that? Are they like coal miners or something?
I think they're supposed to be like Mad Max shit. Like
Master Blaster Steel and Master Blaster Iron. Are they just fucking blacksmiths?
Yeah, they're elements, dude.
Oh, later replaced with Master Blaster Blade. Yeah, these guys are just they're auditioning for Forged in Fire.
Yeah, they're the somebody
Does
was
it cut?
Ole Anderson was looking at the periodic table of the elements and was like, you know what? Master Blaster Steel sounds pretty good. The Young Pistols eventually do win the United States tag titles after a heel turn at the end of 1991. And then in April of 92, Steve Armstrong leaves WCW and that breaks up the team. But they don't ever have a match that I've seen that is nearly as good as this, which is a really high bar to have to clear. Like the Young Pistols / the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys were fine, but they needed a team as good as the Midnight Express to elevate them.
Yeah, they were the U.S. Tag Team Champions in WCW. They were the Ohio Valley Wrestling Tag Team Champions.
Oh, that's way later. That's Jim Cornette's booking Ohio Valley.
Yeah, so that's was that when it was a developmental territory?
Yeah.
But at least they did that. You know, they never made it to WWE, neither of them, which is crazy because Tracy Smothers wrestled everywhere.
Yeah.
He wrestled everywhere. Like Japan, I believe, even. No, Jersey. I was Samsonite. But yeah, Mid-South Wrestling, Ohio Valley Wrestling, Premier Destination Wrestling, just all over the place. He was the Pro Wrestling Unplugged Hardcore Champion.
Hell yeah, dude.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He had a bunch of titles there.
Yeah, he was one of Jim Cornette's like top baby faces. Because it was like in the South, specifically, he was really over, you know, and he was like a guy that they could relate to as a top baby face.
Do you know who he won the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Championship with?
I do not off the top of my head, no.
The Dirty White Boy.
Ah, yes, the Dirty White Boy. Now, not to correct you, but he did wrestle briefly in the WWF as Billy Joe Floyd.
So I fucked up because I'm looking at like titles, championships, and accomplishments. He just didn't win anything in the WWF. Yeah. That makes sense.
So they essentially Jim Cornette they were looking for talent. Like this is in the dearth again of WWF in the mid '90s, and Jim Cornette is essentially like, I've got a bunch of guys that I used to book in Smoky Mountain that are good wrestlers. You can use them as enhancement talents, and you can use them. They can beat the lower level guys, and then you can use these guys to help get your stars over.
Yeah.
You know, they have a little bit of credibility. So he was like Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy, Bill Irwin was another guy, but they all got the worst gimmicks possible. Like the Dirty White Boy became TL Hopper, who was a plumber, a wrestling plumber.
He's got worse than Dirty White Boy.
I mean, yeah, I get you could just
I wish
call
I could
him
be Dirty White Boy again.
Yeah, you could just call him Tony Anthony. You know, Tracy Smothers became Billy Joe Floyd, which is a terrible name.
His name was Tony Anthony.
Yeah,
his name is Tony.
Tony. He was the unknown member of Tony.
What the?
And then Bill Irwin became the Goon, who was a hockey player wrestler, and his boots look like hockey skates.
I think that's very funny.
Yeah,
that's a bad gimmick. I'm glad the Goon existed.
Yeah,
but that's a funny gimmick. We've seen the Goon wrestle. I can't remember where, but
he was in the gimmick battle royal we watched.
Okay. We got to rewatch the gimmick battle royal, dude.
Yeah, the Goon, bro. You were gonna ask me a question about the Freebirds.
Did you see they go to the Freebirds after this?
They do. I hesitate to say, but as a kid, freaked me out. I'd never seen dudes wearing that much makeup before when I was like 7 years old.
Well, yeah, I thought I was sinning when I saw Goldust on the screen. As a kid. Yeah. They showed the Freebirds. I'm gonna try to find it.
There's a lot of glitter,
a lot of makeup.
Yeah.
Why were they like? Was that wasn't their gimmick at the time? Was it?
That was their gimmick at the time.
Really? What happened to my Freebirds?
Well, they're still
Texas
from
badasses. I mean, Georgia badasses.
They're still from Bad Street, Atlanta, GA, but it's more.
It's more like bad. Like you've been Bad Street.
I think they were going to like. How do we freak out the squares? Like,
that's fair. It's wrestling. You know what I mean? But it's
but yeah, it's definitely. This was my first introduction to the Freebirds. I didn't know about the badass, world class Freebirds until years later. So this was like it makes sense. They're like.
They're clearly gay guys.
Yeah, they're just androgynous, weird dudes, and like. In wrestling, there have been the dudes that could pull that off. Michael Hayes cannot pull off that much makeup. Like,
you don't mess with Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good gimmick. Like the Michael Hayes wrestling you mess with Michael Hayes, apparently the person needs some work, right? But like the wrestling persona from World Class, like as just like kind of a grungy dickhead, like the guy who you meet at the bar who's like the country boy who cares a little bit more about his looks than the rest of the country boys.
Right.
And like but is still like ready to fight anybody and all that type of shit, and he's so happy to be an asshole. Like that's my favorite thing about like Michael Hayes back then. He's just so happy to be a dickhead.
Yeah. In every situation he could make the decision to de-escalate, and he always will pick to escalate.
Yeah, he's just a shitball, and I love it. And like, so
but in that incarnation, they have Terry Gordy, because a lot of people, he's part of the gang. He made the gang a lot more fun, Terry Gordy. Right. Well, and the thing is, you're like, why wouldn't somebody just beat the shit out of Michael Hayes? Because I think he's like 5'11". He might even skate at 6 feet. But it's like he doesn't cut an intimidating presence necessarily. Like he knows how to fight. Yeah, but you bet that he knows how to fight. But you're like, somebody at a bar would kick this dude's ass if he were being that guy, unless Terry Gordy is his friend and is also there. We all know that guy who can talk all that shit because his friend's a legitimate badass.
That's usually that was me growing up.
Sure. So they lose Gordy, so then it's like they have to become even more like the chicken shit heels, because Jimmy Garvin's only like 5'10", so it's they can't get over on people by being the tough beat 'em up tag team.
What
You
did
know?
Michael Hayes do that we thought was the funniest thing in the world in a War Games match?
Oh, he comes in last. He doesn't want to be in the match. And then it's only him left. And he's trying to talk Paul E into whoever's next. And they're like, it's you. And he goes, damn it. And then he gets in the ring, hits everybody else in the ring immediately with a DDT.
Yeah.
And then gets in the other ring that's empty to strut.
He does, yeah.
No.
He goes over and starts That's what it was.
Hilarious. It's like, and I imagine that had to be improv.
Yeah.
That's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in wrestling.
It was great. It was great.
All right, couple of quick news things, and then we can get out of here. Tomorrow is Night of Champions, from Saudi Arabia, where nothing bad is happening and everything is chill. So, from
the conscience capital of the world.
Yeah, from definitely the coolest place you could go right now.
Phil Brooks is currently in a bathtub filled with blood.
Yeah,
but he's probably listening to Minor Threat, so it's cool.
It's a bathtub that's filled with blood, but also money.
Yeah,
lots of money.
Yeah. It's in coins, so the blood doesn't get it.
Yeah, we've got Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross, which should be okay. I think Sami Zayn loses this match actually because they're trying to build him up into a heel turn, I think, and like he snaps and goes crazy eventually.
Really? You're gonna turn your one like evergreen babyface heel?
I think so. I mean, he's been a heel in WWF before, but I think that's kind of where they're going with him. Rhea Ripley is facing Raquel Rodriguez in a street fight. I think Rhea Ripley wins this. This has the potential to be real nasty, and not like in a good way. Like the botch potential is high in this match, in my estimation.
What is this? What is this event called again?
It is Night of Champions from Riyadh. I think from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, but definitely Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Solo Sikoa is wrestling Jacob Fatu for the U.S. title. Fatu wins. Like, there's no way that Jacob Fatu doesn't win this match, in my estimation. The Queen of the Ring final is Jade Cargill versus Asuka, which also has large botch potential. Because Asuka is so much better than Jade Cargill that it could really get bogged down depending on how adventurous they want to get.
Yeah, and Asuka sells like a motherfucker, and Jade just wants to throw bitches all over the place.
Yeah. The winner of this gets a women's world title match, and I believe Tiffany Stratton and I don't remember who the other women's champion is right now.
The winner is also crowned Queen of the Ring.
Also Queen of the Ring, yes.
Yeah.
Not sadly, I guess. I think Jade Cargill wins this thing. They use Asuka to get her more over, which is how things go sometimes.
It's okay, man. Jade Cargill, I totally see the appeal. You know, I just love Asuka. I love watching her wrestle, but I'm not really mad at Jade Cargill getting a big push. I completely understand it.
Yeah,
she's not the best wrestler, but
King of the Ring final: Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. This should be interesting. I think Cody has to win this thing so they can get to the SummerSlam rematch where he tries to get his belt back, because he's kind of lost some of his flavor in the months since he got beat by John Cena in the stupidest way possible. So he needs some rehab.
He's got to get another receipt on Travis Scott, dude.
Him versus Cena's a big match to have for SummerSlam, so you can do that. And then in the main event, John Cena is taking on our main man, the always righteous CM Punk.
Always on the right side of history on Twitter.
For the WWF title. I think I'm interested to see what kind of match these two dudes could have, because they've had good matches, even great matches in the past, but they're both older now, and John Cena is having a tough time doing anything that is related to wrestling, and I think that's the same kind of thing for Punk. Even though I love, I'm a CM Punk guy, I think that he's hit or miss these days, depending on who he's working with. So
Yeah, it's hard, man. I've never been the biggest CM Punk guy. We need to do, Dusty, a deep dive called Dusty Tries to Get Andrew to Like CM Punk.
yeah,
And you just like, don't lie to me with your words, but like,
sure,
just put together a package of like the biggest rose-colored glasses, like with promos and with matches, his best matches, and like all those things. I'll listen to the Colt Cabana podcast again. I won't follow up on the Colt Cabana podcast where he
right,
screwed the man over completely.
yeah. That's I you know he's an interesting guy, and I don't know if it's a thing that is just he's either your guy or he's not. Because like he there
I
there's
rooted for
some
John Jones against Stipe Miocic.
right.
Stipe, awesome guy. I love Stipe Miocic. John Jones, massive scumbag.
Yeah, sometimes a guy's just your guy, and there's a lot that goes into it. I think now it's a particularly tough uh, sell. People are complicated. The world's a complicated place. All those things we talked about the last time when they announced this match was happening. It's pretty tough to defend CM Punk on this one.
Yeah, if we did the deep dive though, it would be like outside of like context. Like I appreciate what he does in the ring and like
oh, you mean just as a wrestler
in wrestling
yeah,
context.
yeah.
Like, you're not going to make me like CM Punk the person. You're not.
Right. We watched that documentary, The Ship Has Sailed, on
No. Yeah.
Phil Brooks, the man.
Phil Brooks, the man we're struggling with. But the wrestler, I'd like to see the like bangers, the greatest hits, the try your hardest to make me go, you know what? I am a fan of CM Punk.
I could get it.
I bet you would.
Yeah, I mean, if you cultivate it, certainly there's stuff there, just as a pure wrestler and as a wrestling personality. But the big thing to come out is John Cena's promo from last SmackDown.
Yeah.
Then there's a SmackDown happening tonight while we're recording. Of course, if something comes up that we don't know about, we'll talk about it next time. But Cena mirrors the quote unquote pipe bomb promo that CM Punk dropped in 2011.
Yeah.
And that was a huge deal then. He fucking, scorched earth the industry in 2011. But Cena, the same week that this happened 14 years ago, comes out, cuts a promo that is supposed to be the pipe bomb by John Cena. You said that you have watched this.
Yeah.
I don't want to color your opinion. I think that this was a good idea. I think that this was a bad execution of a good idea, and I think it straight up buries CM Punk terribly before their match.
Yeah. But it's, listen, the hard thing about wrestling nowadays is the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah.
And personal issues draw money. Shout out to Mr. Jarrett, right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to do anything that people will care about without getting personal.
Yeah.
And in reality, every locker room CM Punk's ever been in has hated him for the most, from what I understand, right?
Yeah.
And there are specific people who have very specific things to be against CM Punk and all that stuff. The WWE's made it very clear that they're not going to hide from that stuff anymore.
Right.
To an extent. I mean, I'm sure they're not going to bring up, like, when Brock comes back, they're not going to be able to bring up, oh, you got to have sex with a girl in contract negotiations, like that type of stuff. But like,
right.
So I think it was structured well. I think he executed it well in terms of delivery.
Yeah, I thought that I mean, it's a little actory, but that's just kind of John Cena's
And that's
thing.
just wrestling now, man.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's that's how it all like. There's who doesn't do it actory nowadays? MJF for the most part doesn't do it actory.
Owens.
Owens doesn't do it actory. CM Punk does it it sounds like an actor now when he talks.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes Roman Reigns sounds real when he's talking, but not always, but sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's not like the hardest knock uh against Cena here, but it is, it is actory. But
yeah, but
it's
he's the poster child for the where when WWE went actory. That's the
yeah.
problem. It's
Yeah.
the actory factory now. But I mean, I'm sick of wrestlers saying no words and then because they think it's gonna get cheap heat. That's
Yeah.
kind of annoying. Oh, I broke the fourth wall, dude. We've been doing that. I know people haven't been breaking the fourth wall, but people have been breaking convention for a long time. It's not like a big deal anymore.
Yeah, that specifically was in reference to CM Punk's pipe bomb, because Punk in his interview
He said
said,
the same thing.
"Yeah, hey, I'm
Oh,
breaking the
okay.
fourth wall." So
I haven't seen CM Punk's pipe bomb in a while.
some of that stuff is a direct pull off of that, and so that's what it's supposed to mirror it. But I have both of them here, side to side. So like in Punk's pipe bomb, he is taking aim at the WWE through the prism of John Cena. He's like, people say that you're the best. You're not the best. That's what I hate about you. I don't hate you. I hate this perception that you're the best. The only thing you're better than me at is kissing Vince McMahon's ass. And everybody was like, "Oh shit, you're not supposed to say that. That's how we all feel, but you're not supposed to say it." Um, but in my estimation, the reason it works is because he's taking legitimate gripes that he has as at that time a guy that he thought of himself as being a guy who deserved a better position than he was getting, and he was being held down by the powers that be because that's not how they perceived CM Punk, which is a legitimate gripe. And he's like, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. They don't like Heyman, so they take it out on me.
Yeah.
Like uh there I I've tried to grab, he says, I've tried to grab as many of Vince's imaginary brass rings until it finally dawned on me that was just it. They're completely imaginary. uh I've been here almost 6 years. I've been proved as the best in everything, blah blah blah. They don't let me go on Conan. They don't put my face on the collector cups. They don't do all this shit, but they do it for you, and I don't think you're as good as me, and that is why I'm leaving, and I'm taking the belt, and I'm going to show you why I'm the best. And he's like, you screwed over my friends. Colt Cabana is my friend. You guys signed him. You screwed him over. Now he's back on the indies. Blah, blah. So there's a lot of real,
Yeah.
mixed in with the wrestling.
And that promo particularly did not sound actorish. That was a really well done promo in my opinion.
Right. And he's like, it's good. The company's going to keep making money in spite of itself because Vince is an idiot. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. And until he dies, and his idiot son-in-law takes over, nothing's going to change. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of that is coming from a place of realness. He's not burying John Cena or attacking the character of John Cena. John Cena is the avatar that he has to defeat, but his problem is with the company.
Yeah.
And I think that is where it got lost, because in this promo, he's like, John Cena can't say any of that stuff. He's been the number one guy for 20 years. He is not held down or underappreciated or needing validation. His character keeps saying that he does, which I think is why it's sometimes disingenuous, you know.
But I do think like people did chant "You can't wrestle" to him,
Yeah.
and it was like a thing to like be hipster and hate John Cena for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fair for him to say, especially since he's doing this thing calling himself the greatest of all time. There's not a
Right.
lot of people who would call him the greatest of all time.
I guess, yeah, I guess
So.
that is true. The thing that interests me is his counter is, I don't hate you. I don't hate you, CM Punk. I do. I don't think you're the best. The only thing you're better at than me is being the best bullshitter in the world. Uh, and then he goes on to say, you're not the voice of the voiceless anymore because you're a millionaire. Despite yourself, you've become a millionaire. You're not a punk, you're a capitalist. You're not against TKO, you are Mr. TKO. Your tweets are strong, but your actions are weak. And the problem that I think arises, and maybe I'm making too big a deal about it, is all of that stuff is true.
Yeah.
And it's not the heel being bitter towards the, like, that is demonstrably true. And that guy's supposed to be the baby face
Yeah.
in this match. And there's not a really great retort that CM Punk can have to that, because he said himself when he came back to WWE, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money.
Yeah. And I think because I thought you're not a punk, you're a capitalist was a great line, particularly because I believe that about CM Punk, but
Yeah.
also like I don't think John Cena is going to be a heel for very much longer. I think he's going to slowly mold into the anti-hero.
Yeah, I had read something that said that Cody Rhodes was essentially hinting that he's going to have to turn heel soon. That could be interesting, like, because they've got to get Cena back to babyface before the end of the year. Obviously, they're not going to send him out as a heel, for his final match or his final run or whatever. I think this does damage to Punk if he wants to stay a babyface, because you've given him no out, because he has no way to come at John Cena and be like, nuh-uh. Because
Yeah.
it's, if it were anywhere else, if it were all those barbs are equally true if you have this match at SummerSlam. But Punk can say, well, we need money to live, whatever. I've never compromised who I am to make money the way you have, except that this shit's in Saudi Arabia, and he has done that, and everyone knows that that's the underlying story that they can't really tell, because Saudi Arabia has given them $50 million to do this show, but they can't heal the country that they're going to. So it's a tough place for Punk, if he's going to try to come back at this promo, which he hasn't done yet. He might on SmackDown, but I don't know where his out is. And he's great on the mic, so maybe he'll figure it out, but it just seems like you're throwing arrows at one of your baby faces before this big match.
Well, I mean, the crowd was cheering Cena that whole time. He got a big pop when he started the pipe bomb. He was hot. Everybody was like reacting to the things he was saying. He said, "You're welcome, Grand Rapids." The crowd cheered, and he was like, and as you can tell, the mood's starting to change. He was like hinting at, I'm starting to get you guys back, and I'm going to start taking you on a different journey right now. Like, you guys are starting to realize that I'm right. So he brings the crowd in a certain direction. Cody Rhodes turns heel. CM Punk turns into something else. Like, maybe CM Punk turns capitalist and just leans into that shit with his character.
Yeah, capitalist Punk would be funny.
What if CM
He's
Punk
done a
starts
similar
showing
thing
up in his suit and is like, yeah,
previously.
fuck you, I am here for the money.
In Ring of Honor, and I can see that happening.
Like Mr. Business Corporate Man, the JBL Part 2. So yeah, I just think we're having some technical difficulties, so this isn't going to sound as seamless as it normally does. But yeah, I just think, I don't know. I think Punk's taking a different direction. I mean, I think Cena's taking a different direction. I think a lot of people are about to go in different directions in WWE, and I think that might be refreshing.
Yeah, they got to do something to freshen up some of the stuff, and I just think it's going to be an interesting match tomorrow, and it's going to be a tough match to work, but we'll see, and I'll be happy to be wrong if they're able to pull that shit out. But like Andrew said, my internet is making me want to jump through a window. So we thank everybody who listens, even the guy that told us not to quit our day jobs. I won't for now, thanks to your very very helpful message. But we we appreciate everybody who listens. Thank you very much. Like Andrew said, go to the YouTube. That's the most important. You can follow me on Blue Sky, Wrestling Over Everything. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Shout out to the guy I met at the Wu-Tang concert who followed us on Instagram. You seem like a pretty cool dude.
Bong bong.
Bong bong. We appreciate you, and we'll be back next week because Wrestling Over Everything, we never stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. We bring the ruckus. So bring it on. Bring it on.